All right. From that political note, we want to switch and move on to our family conversation for the day. And as always, man, we appreciate you for tuning into Good Morning Kenya. We feel the love, we send it right back. Niliwauliza kwani jana kuliendaje watu wa Valentines, wenye wali celebrate, wenye hawaku celebrate. Do talk with us. The hashtag ever remains to be Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. At KBC Channel 1 is our official station handle. My handle is at Jane Wambui across all the social media platforms. William Wambui, manze, we love you, man. Thank you for always being part of Good Morning Kenya. Anasema Jane Wambui, kuja unichukue tukue dabo. Kenya haitaki makasiriko. I feel you. Watu dabo. Regina anauliza pale watu wa single ukaje. Wenye alikuwa anasema ati Regina akai kuwa single. Akauliza watu wa single wanakaaga aje? Ebu comment hapo hivi. We have Vincent Owino pale Twitter, Shapiro. We have Shikwanga Edwin Watita. Yes, I said that right. Thank you so much for tuning in. Shapiro nasema, good morning, ladies. Hope you had a lovely Valentine's. Jane, where are you? Valentine Dubai nini? Bro, Valentine's ilikuwa kwa nyumba. Hakuna Dubai hapa. I see Lawrence Moi Kinywa. Thank you so much for tuning in. Huyu anasema lakini Ray hakai kuwa single. Niende Ray akakuliza watu single hukaa aje. Joseph Kosgei saying RIP to the late Mheshimiwa. Of course, we appreciate that. Prudence Wanza. And lastly, who do we have here? Collins Balboa. Thank you all so much for staying with us this far. Now, as I had mentioned today on our family conversation, we're going to be having a rather sensitive, uncomfortable for some, but necessary conversation. And this involves any form of relationship that you may have, really, either romantic or a platonic, or just a strong relationship with whoever that you find to be significant in your life. Because they say if you are always in good terms with people, one of you is compromising too much. So today we're going to be talking about anger, bitterness, and forgiveness in relationships. And mind you, not just romantic relationships, be it with whoever you find to be significant in your life. And to help us with this conversation this morning, we have with us Peninah Maluli, who is the founder of Star with Pearl. Karibu sana Peninah.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for making time to be with us this morning.
Yeah.
We could start with your social media handles, and watu wanaijua better than Peninah Maluli. And of course, we've had her before, so give us the socials.
Okay. My stage name is Peninah for Pearl. That is what you find me on YouTube.
Yes.
And on Facebook, I'm Penny Pearl.
All right. So
yes.
Check her out. And again, you can always interact with us via our official hashtag and station handle, that is Good Morning Kenya, and at KBC Channel 1 respectively. And tag me as well at Jane Wambui, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I will be sampling your questions and comments as well as clarifications as we proceed on with this particular interview. So let's just dive right into it. You know, for some, I was telling them today's topic, they're like, you're mzito? Why is that on a Monday? But then again, it's necessary. And given that Valentine's was yesterday,
you can imagine.
So many expectations, others were thoroughly disappointed.
Yeah.
And let me just start with the fact that looking at Valentine's, you know, something like this, do you think this sense of overrating that we give around it breeds some of these things that we're talking about, anger, bitterness especially?
Yeah, expectation of people sometimes may go too high.
Yeah.
And that day usually it comes like it is the end of the world. It's like you're loving that day and never love again.
You know?
So we expect a lot to be happening today in families and personal relationships, and even people are maybe courting or whatever it is.
Yes.
But the fact is that when it starts with being angry. So anger comes first. Then when you are not able to control anger, you go to bitterness. It builds to bitterness.
Yeah.
Then it is either you forgive or you unforgive. So it is a process. So, like now, let's talk about yesterday. Yeah. You can tell now, of course, it is just like automatic. There must be many cases.
Yes, watu kukosana.
hatukukosana na wengine wamefurahia.
Yes.
So na unajua asira si ati ni mbaya. But how you bring it out, because there's a difference between immediately after you get angry and how you act. There's like a period there. That's a period ndio kakujipanga nako. You can either maybe choose to become an observer or react.
Yes.
That's stimulus, the part of being stimulus about the being angry and the response. That is where the whole thing is. Let me give you a very good example.
Yes.
I'm not going to politics, but an example. I usually listen to some of the men of God because I'm also a pastor. So there's a man of God called Bill Graham, and he was speaking about forgiveness. It was a meeting of thousands and thousands of people, but he gave up an example of Kenya. Something I'm a Kenyan, sijaisikia hata kwa history yetu, but he gave an example. And he said when we came out of colonization, that day when Mzee Kenyatta was handed over power, there was expectation from the white man, maybe he will lead people maybe to shedding blood and act negatively. But he went to the radio and said, I forgive you. And you forgive us. And from there, they started the nation on a foundation of celebration and thanksgiving. If only he had said something different, we could I could have had something like what was in Rwanda. Yeah. So it just takes someone to make a small decision just between when you are able to say yes or no and how you react. Because being angry is inevitable.
Yes.
In life, in relationship, in family, you'll meet it. Hata ukanyagwa na mtu kwa barabara, hata kwa lift.
But then we have this types or category of people who say sisi hatukosanangi, and is that really possible? Can you be in a relationship with anyone and fail to rub shoulders at one point or the other?
You must be lying. There must be some maybe a double standard somewhere.
Yeah.
Because you're human.
It's not practical.
It's not practical. Being angry is normal. It depends on how angry. Being angry has also standards.
Yeah.
Yeah. It depends on what. Zingine utaepuka tu, maybe you ignore. But huwezi kusema ati mtu ajanikosea. Hakuna.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, looking at that same category of people, do you think over time, kusema hatukosanangi, yet things are happening and you rub them off, you don't address them, is what breeds bitterness?
Yeah, as we have said that you can make a decision to get angry and overcome. And you can become angry and hold on to it. And let me tell you, majority of cancers, depression and stress, as we are talking now, someone somewhere in the hospital and in bed can make a decision now as we talk to forgive someone and he'll be out of bed.
How would you describe bitterness?
Bitterness is, let's say, bitterness is what builds up after anger. Because when you get angry and you don't forgive, it builds, the bitterness now builds up. It is something like, when you are bitter, it's like you are taking poison. I am taking poison and I want you to die. Because you cause, it's like giving you my power. Okay, I have the power in me of will and emotions. It's true.
Yes.
So when I get bitter and angry and I cannot be able to control myself, I've given you my power. So you hold it and you leave me empty. So when you are bitter, you start feeling empty and you cannot be able to make any decision. You feel like you are at the end of the road. And that is where now the poison that you have been taking starts coming and becomes a problem to your health, mental health, emotional health, and even physical health.
Now, I want to tie together bitterness and forgiveness, because that is moving from one end to the other extreme end. How would you describe forgiveness post-bitterness?
Yeah, so because bitterness has been built by being hurt by someone, and now you are bitter and you choose to forgive that person, that becomes healing to you. It is within your power. You know, being angry and bitter, it is within your soul realm. It is within your emotions, your heart. And that's what the Bible says, guard your heart than you guard anything, because that's where the source of your life. That's true. So, unapokataa kukosea, hata tuseme maombi, tuseme hii maombi tunasemanga ya kawaida, Lord's Prayer. Usually say, tusamee makosa yetu kama tunavyosamea wengine. Our death like our debtors. But is it true? But you are angry, you are bitter, but you remember God has forgiven you, but you're not going to give others.
Now, how do you forgive somebody who has wronged you? Because, you know, there's this saying that says, I may forgive you, but I will not forget.
Yeah.
You know, I may forgive what you did, but I will not forget what you said or did.
Yes.
How do you forgive someone when it's really hard? And especially looking at romantic relationships where they have wronged you in one way or the other. Maybe you are the type that, you know, infidelity cuts deep. Maybe you're the type that violence cuts deep. It's one of your things that, you know, this is a deal breaker for me. But then again, you're like, you don't want to walk away from this. How do you go past such a hurdle?
Let me pick the highest and the most painful issue of romance that can happen in someone's life. It's like, let's say your wedding day, then the guy decided not to show up. Just imagine. That's like the highest in romance.
Bro, I'm going to fetch you where you are. You will not leave me at the altar.
So I'm saying that if, let's say you are so angry and like you make the clock ends at the time that it didn't come, you don't want even to remove your gown, but life has to continue. So it is you to make a decision that I won't give this guy my power of life. Because if you don't forgive him, you'll not continue with life. That bitterness will hold you down and you'll not be able to make a decision in any area. You never achieve your destiny. It holds you like the end of your life. But when you drop this person and imagine, this person is just a garbage to me because he saw you as a garbage too. Yeah, garbage him too. And move on. Because that decision will make you go to your destiny. But if you get earlier, you know bitterness and anger, what it does, it feeds your ego. And you know, your ego is like a baby in you that is trying to misbehave. So you bring out the handout. Will be able to behave. All right. Yes.
Now, there's so many people who are living in anger and bitterness, but in essence, they're not alive to that fact because they say, Aline Kasirisha, but I moved on. But really, they are still living in bitterness. What would you say are some of those signs that could tell you, in as much as you don't want to accept it or are not alive to it, that you're actually living in bitterness? What are some of those things that bitter people do that we subconsciously do and we're not aware of that is bitterness? Let
me refer to the Bible. The Bible says when you get bitter, you defile others. Just like if you leave your house now bitter today, as on your way as you come, someone will touch you and you'll defile because always you will react that bitterness to them. By the time you get here, you react to another one. You are defiling people on your way. So if you don't forgive, you continue defiling others and also defiling yourself. And that bitterness is like, let's say umesema nimekusamea basi na nimekuachilia. But ukiangalia mtu bado hii kitu ina manifest. What I can say is that you can forgive someone, doesn't mean that person comes back to you and you relate with them. You may decide to keep them away from you so that you don't repeat the same issues or you don't need them again. But if it is possible, just drop. Forgetting, let me tell you, is not easy. Yeah, don't be lied. It is not easy to forget.
It's one of the hardest.
Oh, yeah, okay. You know, when you remember, maybe if you dropped it totally, you just remember it and brush it off. But if you remember and it, sijui kama ushaikasirishwa na mtu, unalala usiku, unapinduka hivi, usingizi unapotea.
I know.
Let us be practical. Hata tuache kwenda mbali. Yesu mwenyewe alikasirika siku moja. Akapata mti hauna matunda akaulaani. Because he was human at that time. Yeah. So it's inevitable to be angry. But we have said, between the stimulus and the response, that's where we can be able. Just try to go back and become an observer, and then you make a decision from there.
Okay. Yeah. So how then do we manage our expectations in line with not breeding bitterness and consequently actually forgiving this person if they wronged you at one point or the other? Managing expectations.
That is the willpower that you have. Yeah, that is you. Stop feeding your ego. As simple as that.
But can you really be in any relationship without having expectations? Be it with your children, be it with your significant other, your best friend, your colleagues at work.
It is a continuous
process. Can a relationship exist without expectations?
There is nothing like that. And that is why Jesus said, was asked, how many do I forgive? And he said 70 times 77 in a day. So you can't count how many. So you just ignore, you don't count. You just continue forgiving for your sake. Because if bitterness will cause me to go into depression or stress, or even have arthritis, or maybe go into cancer.
Yeah.
That's why I say it is like taking poison and expecting someone else to die. So what I'll say is that just do yourself a favor and forgive. For your sake, not others.
No, I'm asking about expectations.
Expectation of the other person or myself?
Of the other person. When you're getting into, again, any form of relationships. Can a relationship exist without expectations?
I don't think that is practical. I don't think it's practical.
It's not.
You just learn to manage and know it will come and it will be repeated. Yes.
Now, for somebody who's struggling with bitterness and they find it's hard to just even get to that point where they want to forgive this person, we always talk about closure. I need closure from him to forgive him. I need closure from her to forgive her. I need closure with this person in order to start that, get on that path of forgiveness. Closure tunaongeleanga. First of all, is it necessary? If, let's say, for example, let's use a romantic relationship. You've broken up with someone and you feel that there is no closure for you to be able to move on and forgive them for what they did to you. Is closure necessary?
You know there's closure by speech.
Yeah.
But this thing is emotional. So it is just within your willpower to make a decision. It is not easy. It depends on how much you love that person. Kuna mtu maybe hata huku ana shughuli hata akienda it just goes like that.
Yeah.
Kuna mtu, you may love someone so much that you feel like the end of the road. But let me tell you, that's not the end of the road. There's always life after that. Even life after death is there. Then why should you get expectations that will cause you to lose your willpower and like come to end because of expectations? Because this is practical, it is here, it is with us, it will continue. Yes.
So closure is not a must. It all boils down
it has
to you as a person.
You have to make it personal on individuals. Because
or you should make closure your own personal agenda, not from the other person.
Yeah. Even if I forgive you, let's say you wrong me, I forgive you. But maybe I'll just hata tusameane. But me, I've failed because I've let you go. So, wewe utaendelea na zako, lakini mimi nimepona. You can also find someone, maybe you are so bitter with someone, you cannot even eat, even you are planning how you can take action.
Yes.
Maybe someone is swimming in a pool somewhere. And I enjoy it. Ana time na wewe. Hata kukumbuki.
And you're here demanding you need closure from them.
Which is not important at all.
So we need to redirect this conversation about I need closure from this person to I need closure from within.
Yeah, from yourself. Because you cannot control others.
Yeah.
We may have a dialogue and even discuss. There are times that you have to forgive someone without even involving them because you let them go and you feel you have healed and you have let that person go. But maybe they are still holding you, or they may even do things that hurt you.
Okay.
Or even maybe show it off that they... But you have to, because it is about your mental, physical, and emotional health.
Well-being.
Yeah.
Now, getting onto that path of forgiveness, what steps should one take, especially if they have been struggling with this person? This person hurt them at one point or the other, and they hurt them in a very significant way, in a way that really cut deep. How do I get to that place that I can actually forgive? What are the steps that I need to take towards forgiveness that I as an individual can make?
Yeah, the first thing, usually the steps of coming out of that bitterness and anger and coming to forgiveness, you take time first. Don't rush to make a decision. Sit down, think about it. And when you relax, sometimes you kind of withdraw, if you have said. You kind of withdraw. Then you can even write down those things. When you journal something,
yes,
it happens that it becomes like you have taken a step. And by taking that step, you are still coming out of it. The anger is still coming out of you. You may also, maybe, when you think like you are so bitter, at times you can take even a deep breath. And you in, out, or a kind of an exercise.
Yes.
It refreshes you, and you are looking at this particular issue. You are addressing it directly. So by this, you are getting out. You may even decide, let me just go somewhere and look at, there's something about looking at green. I don't know what happens when you go maybe a river and some green vegetations and just stand there and look at them. Something happens and you refresh your mind. Because we have a lot of toxic in our minds and in our hearts and all that. That's why usually even holidays are important.
Yes.
Yes.
Do something that will...
Just come out of it and walk out. Yes. Distance
yourself in a way.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be physically.
It can be physically. It can be even in your mind, because even if you go away from someone, what you're feeling is inside you. But I'm saying that when you start, you journal, you think about it, you do some exercise, and you walk out thinking about how can I be able to control my emotions. There's something that we call IQ and EQ. IQ is a relative intelligence of a human being, but EQ is the capacity to control your emotions and emotions of others. So if you are not able to have your EQ at your hand, you will lose a lot and you never reach your destiny. Because most of the things that, as we are saying, that how to manage this and that be able to come out so that we can be able to manage. If you are not going to do that, you will not get where you are going. So you have to make that decision.
Would you advise seeking professional counseling services as a stepping stone towards helping you overcome this anger and bitterness, and consequently get you onto that path of forgiveness towards the person who wronged you?
Yeah, sometimes, getting help is very important, because if you're not able to do it on your own, you need to get someone who has that grace to be able to take you through the path. And I've seen such cases when maybe I may approach someone to help me, but they are going through also bitterness. Then they kind of pour it more to you. So it depends on who you approach on this. So you have to identify a serious mentor on that area. And usually the best person to do such is someone who have gone through it and overcome. Yes. Like me, I worked over through anger, bitterness, and forgiveness for long. And when I was working through it, apart among my topics in Start with Pearl program, because that's what I do. Start with Pearl means to stir you up to realize who you are and come out of the cocoon that you are in. And that's exactly what we are doing here.
Yes.
Yes. Because let's say someone now is watching us from the prison. Like, I was once an assessor in murder cases in High Court. It's a layman thing that you are called to come, and maybe you become a layman in that case. But you listen to some cases where people killed. It's something that could have been controlled over nothing at all. So there are things that someone is listening and can see surely. If only I took time, even if I don't build this kind of bitterness, I would not be where I am today.
Okay, and that brings in the aspect of communication through it all. Before you even get to the place where you are angry, how effective are you in your communicating? If you are bitter, how good are you at communicating why you are bitter? And if you do forgive, how do you communicate this forgiveness? The importance of communication throughout the journey.
As we have said, that's where defilement comes from. Sometimes when the things that make me and you come into issue of anger, bitterness, and end to what we are, there's no source from you or me. I've come from where I've come from, someone that's hurt me. I've come carrying the bitterness along with me. So before I get where I am, of course, others maybe 3-4 cases of bitterness and anger. And sometimes it may be you have not listened carefully what someone is saying. Then you make a decision and you come out with, you come to a position where you are not able to forgive. Like, there's a lot of noise in our country at the moment. But if people can just sit down and ask themselves, what are we doing? What are we talking about? Who am I affecting? Because, for example, now in schools, we are having that banning of schools. Maybe this child, during this time of Corona, they were in the house for for a long time. He knew the father as the best person in the world. The father has lost a job. He has come in the house. He has seen his father at this lowest moment. Then he goes to school with that bitterness. Then the teacher rises. So that bitterness comes from here. If you are not going to manage this child because of what they are going through, there's be a lot to be done in these schools. And that's why, though they are not allowing people to go, they need this kind of mentorships.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, as we draw the conversation to a close, there are those people who say that I'm angry with this person, I am bitter with this person, and I find it extremely hard to forgive them. Or even just say me, I'll not forgive them.
Yeah.
I will never forgive them. Cutting ties. Is it something you would advise people who struggle with forgiveness to do? Just cutting ties completely and moving on past that person?
Yeah, you will cut the tie, but you'll still be bitter. Cutting ties is not the end of it. If you don't, if unforgiveness is still in you, you are still in bondage. Yeah, you are bitter. It's like you are a sick person, in fact. And you're just feeding your ego that you're not able to forgive. You cut the tie and you move on. But that thing is in you. It is not with the person. So that bitterness, even if I cut the tie and even go to Dubai, I will still remember.
But they will not be there to trigger the memories. They'll not be there for you to remember. You don't need to see
that person to trigger that memory.
Yeah.
It is in you. And I don't know what kind of a spirit works with anger and bitterness.
Yeah.
You just sit like this and you remember someone you have seen for the last 10 years and you become bitter alone like you are shaking on your own. Yeah. So cutting the tie will not end. Forgive that person. Don't even see them. Release them from where you are. Heal yourself. You know, when you forgive, you're forgiving yourself. You're the first person who is hurt. Yeah. So when you forgive them, you release them, you are free. And let them be. Whether they forgive you, if there can be dialogue, it's okay. If it cannot be there, let it be.
So as you cut ties, make sure you forgive for your own good.
Yeah, it's for your own good.
All right. Yeah. Now, maybe we could just look at that camera over there and talk to our viewers, those who are struggling with anger and bitterness from their significant other, from their parents. You know, I came across somebody who is still angry at their late mom because of things that their mom did to them when they were kids. And their mom died about 7 years ago, but they're still angry at their mom. Those who are harboring anger and bitterness, and what forgiveness means to them should they choose that path.
Okay.
Very briefly, we're almost out of time.
Yeah, it's okay. Okay, what I can see is that it doesn't matter whether they are living or they are dead. Holding bitterness is sickness to yourself. You bring down yourself, your emotions are down. You cannot even make a decision, you can never achieve your destiny, and you cannot even be able to plan anything because every time you turn, you remember them. What I can say is that the only best way to live, the best way to get into health is forgiveness. It doesn't matter what someone has done to you. It is for your sake. Forgive them. Do yourself a favor and forgive. It is for your own good and not them at all.
Absolutely. Yes. Now, as we close, I just want to read one tweet from Lil Baby KE, who says, intelligent men and women who be in serious relationships, they are easily annoyed by things in general, but tend to be silent when problems arise, okay? In order to avoid meaningless arguments, bitterness does not define love, but who you hold on to does. Who holds on to it does, rather. So when these issues arise, don't be quiet. Don't be quiet at each other and consequently just move like it didn't happen. Address them as they come up, and consequently you will find that none of you is holding on to this bitterness. And never move on from something if the other partner, if you're both not on the same page. Trust me. That is from personal experience. Thank you so much, Peninah. That is all the time we had for today's discussion. Yes. Again, as I always say, some of these conversations that we get to bring to you, we cannot fully exhaust them in one sitting, and we will be having subsequent discussions to talk about such things. And looking at this particular topic of anger, bitterness, and consequently forgiveness, it is something that is so wide that we will be addressing an item at a time as we move on with Good Morning Kenya. Thank you so much, Peninah. She is Peninah Maluli, the founder of Star with Pearl. You can find her on social media. Give us your social handles once more.
Okay, Penny Pearl is Facebook. You can find on it, and also you can get my on YouTube. You can get what I do on Star with Pearl. I Star with Pearl, and also is Peninah for Pearl. I have 2 YouTubes. All right, there you have it. Check her out, interact with the content, and get the support that you need.
On behalf of the Good Morning Kenya crew, we want to wish you a lovely day. Thank you so much for staying with us. Be sure to join us again tomorrow morning for another beautiful edition of Good Morning Kenya. My name is Wambui. Have a lovely day. God bless. See you tomorrow.
In the